Imagine what would happen if Jesse Watters Primetime sent producers to Capitol Hill to harass the Democrats. Say I sent my assistant Johnny to bang on Nancy Pelosi's door or scream at AOC while she's recording a TikTok video. Johnny's completely unleashed without any supervision, just terrorizing every liberal who gets in his way. He may even have a puppet that he's foisting in people's faces. I think that's the last time we'd ever see Johnny alive. Many people would probably like that, but I'd need a new assistant. The outrage from the Democrats and the media would be humongous. They'd throw Johnny in solitary, probably shackle him. They'd need very small shackles, though, because Johnny's legs are very skinny. And his tan face would be plastered all over CNN and MSNBC. They'd dox his family. Poor, poor Mrs. Belisario. Meanwhile, poor Johnny's sleeping on a cold concrete floor. They deliver one meal a day through that tiny little slot. And worst of all, there's no one on the inside to steam his shirts. Johnny would never survive under these conditions. But the media and the left would be perfectly fine with Johnny behind bars. In fact, they'd probably celebrate it as a victory for democracy. You see, Johnny does not have liberal privilege, so he's got to watch his back. He can't just stage a comedy coup and get away with it. Only Democrats are allowed to do that, like Stephen Colbert and his dog, face puppet soldier Triumph. Colbert essentially incited an insurrection last week, or as Chuck Schumer would say, an erection, when he sent a mob of people to breach the Capitol building and harass conservative members of Congress, to intimidate them and prevent them from doing their constitutional duty. They succeeded, thanks to Adam Schiff and another Democrat named Jake Auchincloss, Gesundheit, who opened the doors. And when they eventually were captured by Capitol Police, the Democrat machine immediately kicked into gear. Nothing to see here, no mugshots, no surveillance video, nothing. And they got to go home. Because, as you know by now, it's different when a Democrat commits a crime. They think it's funny. Watch.
Here's what happened. Last week, I heard from my old colleague, Triumph the insult comic dog. Triumph offered to go down to D.C. and interview some congresspeople to highlight the January 6th hearings. After they'd finished their interviews, they were doing some last-minute puppetry and jokey make-em-ups in a hallway when Triumph and my folks were approached and detained by the Capitol Police. This was first-degree puppetry. This was hijinks with intent to goof. In this case, our puppet was just a puppet doing puppet stuff.
See, they think it's funny. And this isn't the first time they pulled a stunt like this. We learned today that a man who works for Congressman Auchincloss, Timothy Hysom, his Johnny, was caught on camera back in different instances from January to March vandalizing Republican Marjorie Taylor Greene's office. You probably didn't hear much about that. But needless to say, we checked with the DOJ. They have no plans to prosecute him. The liberal privilege kicked in. The U.S. Attorney's Office in D.C., the same one who's bringing charges against January 6 rioters, is giving Schiff's former bagman a pass. They only prosecute conservative criminals now. So if Kevin McCarthy sent an aide to, TP Ilhan Omar's office in the middle of the night, obviously a hate crime, he'd be in the gulag with the rest of the deplorables. The double standard is stark. They refuse to charge liberals or release their mugshots, but conservatives, they get treated like Ted Bundy. Which is weird because we know how serious the left is taking unlawful entry of the Capitol on January 6th.
There's never been a bigger or more important story in American history than this.
This is the most important story in the history of the Republic.
It was chilling. The videos were chilling, and I think it's going to be historic.
This was orders of magnitude worse than Watergate.
This is so much worse than something like Watergate. This is so much worse than Watergate. This is a watershed moment for our democracy.
You don't invite Triumph, the insult comic dog, to cover the greatest assault on democracy in the history of this country.
This is Triumph reporting from the greatest deliberative body in the world.
For me to poop on!
All right, we are situated by the Senate offices. With new evidence piling up, Republicans are working tirelessly to ignore all of it.
Oh, boy.
10! Come on, it's your old pal! Senator Graham, another question. Why do you look like every guy that saw the movie Cats Alone?
That's who the Democrats want to cover, the biggest story in American history. A puppet is your correspondent for the most important story in the history of the Republic. Adam Schiff is conducting so-called serious hearings and then steps outside to do interviews with a dog puppet. Schiff wants to be liked so badly that he'll do anything to make Stephen Colbert happy. He was actually on Colbert's show just 2 weeks ago.
We are not out of the woods. It'd be one thing if what started on January 6th or culminated on January 6th, that violent attack, had ended on the 6th. It didn't end. And if anything, our democracy is even more vulnerable today than it was on January 6th.
Maybe they hatched the June 16th plot in the CBS green room before that interview. And he's right. Our democracy is vulnerable. Instigators can still just waltz right into the Capitol and intimidate members of Congress. And are Colbert and Schiff conspiring to suppress the CBS producers' mugshots from being released by Capitol Police? It wouldn't be the first time Schiff colluded with the media to push a political agenda. While we work on getting those for you, we've commissioned a mugshot of Triumph, the insult comic dog. We imagine this is what he looked like at the time of his arrest. Primetime won't stop demanding that Capitol Police make the actual mugshots public. And you can help us too. You can reach the head of Capitol Police, J. Thomas Manger, there on the screen, 202-224-1677. Be polite, but maybe he'll take your calls because he's stonewalling Fox. But who knows how long it'll be, or even if we get the mugshots, because the left plays by a different set of rules. When a Democrat commits a crime, it gets scrubbed. They're actually presumed innocent. Democrats have these DAs in their pockets. They're all political animals. Look what's happening in California right now. We got Big Paulie's mugshot, but it was like pulling teeth. It's like a 3-card Monty dealing with these people. And they're still stonewalling on the dash cam video. They're treating this like the footage, like it was a sex tape. Wait, is it a sex tape? But we don't know because they won't show us what happened. Prove me wrong, Napa County DA, that Paul Pelosi didn't have someone else in his Porsche that night. If this was Lauren Boebert's husband failing a field sobriety test, it would have been looped on MSNBC for days. According to California Highway Patrol, all records are being withheld pursuant to Government Code Section 6254. That's a provision that allows them to bury evidence at the victim's request. Is Paulie P. the victim? Did he ask California Highway Patrol and the Napa County DA to cover this up? Well, we're going to find out. Amanda Ray is in charge of California Highway Patrol. She takes orders from Governor Newsom and gets paid a pretty penny. Ray makes $267,000 a year. It's a pretty sweet gig. So she's probably willing to do anything to keep her job, like possibly cover up for a member of California's royal family. If you don't believe this whole thing's political, just look at the supposedly nonpartisan charity Mothers Against Drunk Driving. In the past, Matt has called out drunk drivers by name, describing them as dangerous criminals who must be held accountable. Quote, no exceptions, no excuses. But they took a much different approach with Papa Paulie P. After nearly 20 attempts to contact him, we finally heard back today. They released a statement, not blasting Paulie P. by name or anything, but instead saying this, quote, we are awaiting the outcome of this investigation to determine next steps. So the moms aren't really that mad. They're going to sit this one out. But we're not, because you deserve to know what really happened that night. Did Papa Paulie P. have anybody else in the car with him? Did he try to bribe police? Did he make a pass at the arresting officer? We can only guess. So keep calling the California Highway Patrol Commissioner and the Napa District Attorney. Numbers on the screen right there. Again, be polite. Maybe that can have an effect. Today we served Allison Haley, Napa's DA, and the ball is now in her court. The clock's ticking. And by the way, where the heck are all the whistleblowers? We need good, honest people to break through all the BS and release all these mugshots and videos that Democrats are trying to hide. It's almost like this country only leaks to the left. Let's see if we can even this thing out.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.